Hello, everybody. It is August 11th, 2020. Time for our normal Tuesday talks here on Instagram. I received an email from somebody in the community, and it really struck a chord with me. This individual was pouring out their soul, really, and what they were talking about and what they were going through. I felt that a lot of people out there could relate to it in one way, shape, or form. Even if you couldn't relate to every single thing this individual was talking about, probably something. So here's what they said. I will leave their name out for obvious reasons. They wrote in and said, I'm just starting back to working out after about a 2-year hiatus. During that break, I ended up getting divorced, I got really depressed, and gained 30 pounds. Before I stopped going to my gym, I was able to do about half the workouts RX'd and about half scaled. I never really got muscle ups, double unders, or handstand push ups. The problem that I'm having right now is that at 41 years old, I keep false starting. What I mean is, I go too hard and then I end up getting injured. Or I'm just so sore the next day that working out is nearly impossible. In addition to workouts, he was doing 2 or 3 or 4, side things, this linear program, this other routine, etc., etc., some body work. What suggestions? What are some suggestions so that I can scale back while achieving some level of fitness without feeling like I'm being lazy by not doing the workouts as written? And how long should I wait before I start challenging myself without ending up injured? A fantastic question, and my heart goes out to this individual. So there's a lot to unpack in there, right? So we'll just start and we'll make our way through it. So first of all, right off the bat, used to be able to do half the workout scaled and half RX, which is fantastic. That's a great place to be. There's tons of fitness there. And he mentions not being able to do double unders, muscle ups, or handstand push ups. And we've spoken in the past, like that question has come up, of some people just don't want to pursue those complicated movements. Some people are trying and struggling and in the process of learning. And the question has come up, should everyone pursue them? Is it possible to achieve some level of fitness without pursuing those complicated movements? That's a podcast in and of itself that we've touched on, but I'll encapsulate it real quick. Complicated movements, technically challenging movements, movements that require coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, the neurological components, they're as beneficial as they are demanding and as beneficial as they are challenging. So there is tremendous benefit in pursuing those complicated movements, which are, a large part of what we do at CrossFit. With that being said, if you've just decided for whatever reason, I'm never going to kick upside down against a wall. I don't like it. Not for me. I'm not going to swing up there in the rings. Not for me. Never going to do it. That's okay too. There's a ton of fitness available without doing that. I mean, just as incredibly beneficial as inversions are, if every time handstand push ups came up, you just substituted the appropriate strict shoulder press or push press, you'd be wonderfully fit. You wouldn't be as well rounded with variance as somebody who pursued those other skills, but you'd be wonderfully fit here walking the earth. Didn't want to do muscle ups? Okay, you can do pull ups, chin over bar, chest to bar, strict kipping. You can do ring dips, bar dips, bench dips, etc. So you can find a way to make it happen. And then even without, going back to the handstand push-ups, even if you didn't want to do a handstand push-up instead of the shoulder press, you could kick against the wall and just do a handstand hold. Those are very challenging. You could use a box and do piked handstand push-ups off a box, maybe, and not have to put yourself against the wall, have a lot more control of the movement. So anyway, long story short, doing half the workouts RX and half scaled, it's great. Be on the road to potentially improving those skills that are holding you back a little bit. But you've got all the fitness in the world that you need doing half the workout scale and half RX. So in my mind, that is not the root of what was going on here with this individual's email. Let's get down to one of the big issues. So false starting. And he also mentions that he's 41 years old. I know this demographic well. I will be 45 years old. Wow. Within 1 week's time, I will be 45. Never thought it would happen. It's happening. And I tell you what, compared to, I don't know how I thought 45 would feel when I was young or a teenager, 45 feels absolutely fantastic. And I know that it's in large part to how we eat and how we move, etc., etc. But as the years tick by, as the decades tick by, if you haven't got into a rhythm, if you haven't made health and fitness a priority, it does become more challenging. And when you take a break and you don't work out for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the starting back up is far more painful and laborious than it used to be in your younger years. It's a lot, a body in motion stays in motion. So it's a lot easier to find your rhythm, to find your groove, to keep that consistency, and to do it in a way that is sustainable and makes sense long term so that you don't have to go through these terrible peaks and valleys of I'm on track, I'm fired up, I'm working out. This sucks, I hate it, I tweaked myself, I'm not working out, and a month goes by. And then you get back in, but then the getting back in sucks and hurts so bad, and you're fired up for a week, and then you go too hard too fast, and something happens, and we don't want that cycle. We want to avoid that cycle. So the false starting is a really big part, as far as I'm concerned, of the email that he sent. So we need to figure out why is the false starting happening. And one of the potential reasons is also looped into the other things that he mentions in the email. He finds himself going too hard regularly, then he gets injured, stops and quits. Feels this pressure, he says, that he feels lazy if he does not do the workout as written. So, feels like he has to do the workout as written. It's prescribed or nothing, right? I think we all know somebody with that mindset, or we've been there ourselves. And then, a potentially erroneous, understanding of what some people can think CrossFit is, and I'm not saying this gentleman falls into that category, which is with regards to the intensity piece, that every day you just set yourself on fire and you burn it to the ground with this maximal effort intensity, and again, it's all or nothing. Well, if that's what you think CrossFit is, just maximal red line intensity every time you walk into the gym, and everything has to be written, it has to be done as prescribed, or the day is a waste, absolutely I can see why that is not something sustainable, and that is going to be a recipe for potential injuries, mental burnout, lack of motivation, peaks and valleys, and then we're getting into some terrible cycle that we absolutely want to avoid. So, it's been a very common theme in these videos that I do in the message that we put out, and this is just classic CrossFit methodology, that scaling is cool. Scaling is absolutely cool, and more people should do it, quite frankly. Scaling the workout down in no way, shape, or form degrades the intent, the fitness, the stimulus, the benefit, the health, the nothing about it. All it is, it's just scaling is nothing more than making an intelligent decision based upon whatever the workout of the day is, and then you remove your ego and you take an honest assessment of where you are, where your abilities are, where you are in your road to fitness, what your capacities are, what's the gear that you have available, what's the time that you have available, and then you just modify it in a way that preserves the stimulus to fit your needs. That's all that scaling is. It's fantastic. And maybe an extreme example would help. Let's say that you had a friend that was a runner, hardcore runner, and you're gonna, I don't know, get into running or something like that. And you're like, hey, I'll join you Tuesday morning for a run. Fantastic. They show up and you say, what are we doing? And they go, great news, we're doing a 12-mile run. It would be very obvious to most people if they weren't running regularly that they're like, 12 miles? That seems absolutely ridiculous. I don't care if that's your prescribed workout today, 12 miles. That doesn't make sense for me. It's too much. I'm going to do 3 miles. I'm going to do 2 miles. Like, you'd make that decision like that. It'd be very obvious with something like running. Same deal. It's just the same deal with any other workout that you look at. You shouldn't feel some bizarre pressure to do it prescribed just because it's written down. Again, and I keep coming back to one of the big things I'm all about is just education. If you start to educate yourself of regarding the CrossFit methodology, regarding a bit about programming, the intent, the stimulus, how the body moves, that will give you the ability to look at a workout and immediately be able to assess any workout, any environment, any equipment, and make the best decision possible for where you are. So scaling is cool, okay? Scaling is cool. RX, don't worry about it. No one cares. No one cares if it's RX. No one cares if it's scale. That does not matter. Period. End of story. The only thing that matters is that you do the best workout for you on that day. That's it. That's all that matters. Everything else is garbage. So just get it out of your head. Now I know I can sit here and say that like it's really easy to get that out of your head. I understand that it's not, because I was that guy for many years, that it was RX or nothing, and I did dumb things, and I try to share these dumb things on this podcast all the time. So some of the things that can help you have the mental fortitude or discipline to understand that scaling is cool is ideally listening to messages like this, but then getting yourself in a good community. And this individual is lucky. This was posted as well in our private Facebook group, and the community rallied to his support, the linchpin community, basically saying this same message here. And so now he's got a community that will help him understand that scaling is cool, that you don't have to do everything RX, that as a matter of fact, that's probably a very poor decision, and you're going to be moving away from long-term health and fitness if you just feel the need to do everything RX all the time, even though it's not the best call. So wherever you are in the world, in your life, and whatever, I would highly recommend aligning yourself with a group of people, a support network, if you will, friends, family, community, your gym, online, wherever it happens to be, that those people truly get it, for lack of a better way to say it, and they understand the big picture. They understand how detrimental ego can be. They understand that scaling is cool. They understand that everybody has something different going on in their life, and therefore that will require everyone tweaks, modifies, scales, moves around the workout in an innumerable number of ways on any particular day, and that's okay. That's okay. That's the group of people that you need to be around, because that group of people will serve you well, not only today, but a decade from now. And that's the goal, long-term health and fitness. So get yourself a good community. And then, another party says he would go too hard, he would get injured, he would stop and quit. And that does go back again, of course, to scaling. You can scale the repetitions, you can scale the loading, you can scale the intensity. Just go ahead and slow it down, and that's a big deal. You can scale the movement, like we said. Maybe you don't want to do handstand push-ups. You can do a strict shoulder press. But the scaling of the intensity also goes a really long way. And that is, that loops back to what I said a bit ago, that it can be in some people's head that CrossFit means you redline it every single solitary day. It's not the case. Intensity, we've said this before, and it's classic CrossFit methodology, that intensity is a relative thing. There is mathematical intensity, if you're measuring force and distance and time, for sure, but then there's a relative component to intensity that is based upon the individual athlete, their physical and psychological tolerances and needs, quite frankly. And so, we'll just think about this. Just by modulating intensity, you can greatly modify the outcome of the workout, because something else he says is he'll often be so sore the next day that it's impossible to work out. Well, that's directly related to his previous statement about going too hard. So this is an oversimplification, but let's say the workout of the day, is 100 air squats for time. Okay? Let's keep the workout the exact same. We modulate the intensity. We have a wildly different outcome the next day. So 100 workouts, 100 air squats for time. If you rip those as fast as you possibly can, you do them in sub 2 minutes, you will be walking in a strange manner the next day. Using the toilet will be an uncomfortable experience. It is what it is. We've all been there. But you did 100 air squats in 2 minutes. Let's say you did 100 air squats now over the course of 4 hours. You did 25, you walked around for an hour, did 25, walked around for an hour, etc., etc. You took 4 hours to do the workout. You still did 100 air squats, but you dramatically lowered the intensity. You didn't lower the work, you lowered the intensity. And by lowering that intensity, you're not going to feel the same as the individual that did it in 2 minutes. Not even close. So I know that that's an extreme example that I'm painting there, but point being, after you remove your ego, you make an intelligent decision about what you need to do with scaling the workout, loading, repetitions, movement. Bear in mind that other piece that is utterly and completely up to you to scale or modify is the intensity. It's not a red line effort every day. So if you're getting back into it, you're dealing with these peaks and valleys, cut yourself a little slack, give yourself a break, allow yourself, if you're a car and you've got gears 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and gear 5 is top gear as fast as you can possibly go, just allow yourself to just walk through the workout in gear 3. There'll be plenty of fitness in gear 3, trust me. And a lot of times on a multi-round workout, by the end of it, you're very happy that you didn't start out in a gear higher than gear 3. And you can do that for a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is that you happen to need until you're feeling good and recovered and it's appropriate. And then you can just once or twice a week push it into 4th gear. The other days, still keep it in 3rd gear and take these baby steps, this crawl, walk, run approach to getting yourself into something, not biting off more than you can chew, and then making your health and fitness an actual lifestyle so that it's sustainable and you're not always dealing with this start, stop, start, stop. That's not going to serve anybody well. Let's see. And then I think the last thing that I'll touch on is, and I did touch on it briefly, but that sentence that he wrote, I've heard that from other people, which is, that he'll feel lazy if he does not do the workout as written. Man, that thought process and that mindset, it's pervasive out there, and it can be destructive. It really can. We do so many things in CrossFit, so many skills and movements, and the loadings vary from nothing, just using your body weight, to profoundly heavy, from simple movements to incredibly technical skills, to short domains, to long domains, to interval sprint days. I mean, the chances are, if you're not cherry picking workouts, if you're doing beautiful, well-rounded programming with variance, something should cross your path eventually that you can't do as prescribed. It's a bit much of a challenge for you at that point in time. That's okay. Everybody should come across that. And when that does cross your path, you have to feel authorized and responsible for your own actions, and you have to make the best decision for yourself. And that's where scaling and modifying comes in. So I think that's that. And maybe this, okay, I'm sorry, I lied a second. So maybe this will be the actual last point. I'm not sure who I should give credit to for this. But with regards to, let's say that we took care of all these other things that were plaguing this individual. He understood that didn't have to do it RX every day, understood that scaling was cool, understood that he could scale reps, loading, movement intensity, whatever he needed. Wasn't going to go too hard and then get injured, like etc., etc. The other thing which possibly could be causing the start, stop kind of a deal, other than obviously all the life stressors that he mentioned in the earlier part of his message, let's not forget that, There was divorce, there was depression, there was getting 30 pounds heavier, etc., etc. There's a lot going on. Just punched into his 40s. There's this whole why you work out, right? If you're going to do something every day, and working out is, to get the goods, you have to endure some level of discomfort. Like I said, it doesn't need to be a burn the house to the ground level of intensity, but intensity does deliver the goods. And intensity, by its very, even though it's relative, by its very nature, involves dealing with some discomfort. So it's a unique human being. CrossFitters are unique people, special characters, if you will, that can go out every day knowing that they're about to do something and expose themselves to a profoundly uncomfortable activity, and they still do it. That's amazing. It's actually incredible. So, whatever it takes to get you to do that, you need to do a little soul searching, a little self reflection, and find out what it is that drives you or motivates you to do it. I hate that phrase, your why. I find it like a cliche meme kind of a thing, but you understand what I'm saying. You do have to find your why, your cause, your whatever it happens to be. And I think this was Jocko Willink. This is why I'm not sure who to give credit to. It might be him, but there's a whole motivation versus habit thing, which is people say, well, I need to find some motivation to work out. And you can understand why people would say that. And the motivation is, well, what could potentially be the issue with motivation is we're not always motivated every day. Some days you have good motivation, some days you have low motivation, some days you're middle of the road, some days you have no motivation. So if you are relying on being motivated to work out, you might deal with these peaks and valleys. You might deal with some ups and downs and some starts and stops. I am definitely I prescribe to the other end of that spectrum, which is motivations versus habits. I do think the key here is to just make working out a habit. Now, the other discussion can be, well, how do you make it a habit? And that might be a bit different for each person, but it just has to be something that you do. Because, taking out the trash isn't fun. Flossing your teeth isn't fun. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that we do regularly that isn't fun, but ideally we do it because we understand that putting in that work conveys some sort of benefit. And in my mind, that's what working out is. I'm not psychotic. I don't enjoy discomfort. But what I do enjoy is the results of working out. The strength, the cardiorespiratory endurance, the 10 general physical skills, fitness, work capacity across broad times and modal domains, to the best of my ability, shy of some terrible thing lurking in my genetics, ideally putting myself on the good side of trying to avoid as many chronic diseases as possible through the way that I move, through the way that I eat, having a long life to be able to play with my kids and do the activities that I want to do, all those incredible benefits, those are why I make working out a habit. Whether I have high motivation or low motivation is utterly and completely irrelevant to me. I walk out into the garage and I work out, and it's a habit because I understand the benefits of it. So wherever that is for each individual, trying to identify that and trying to make it a part of your life, I think, is one of the keys to long-term sustainability. So, anyway, that's it. I hope some people found that helpful, and yeah, should be a great day. And for anyone who did yesterday's workout on Linchpin, the 3 intervals, and each interval was 6 ring muscle ups, 12 thrusters at 115 or 75 pounds, and then 15 or 10 cals on the bike, rest 3 minutes between each interval. That was so bad. I almost feel like I need to apologize. It was so bad. It stung incredibly. It was my wife, who was profoundly fitter than me, and I've been very vocal about that. She's a suffer in silence sort of individual. Never makes a peep. I don't care how nasty the workout is. It's probably the old crazy gymnast in her. I had to do some errands yesterday, and as I pulled back into the driveway, I heard sounds coming from the garage that I immediately knew I was in for a very unpleasant deal when the workout started. And that's exactly what happened. So anyway, hope everybody enjoyed that, and we'll talk later.